This is what it feels like to live in Kansas City in 2024. Stick around and I will give you 3 tips for saving money in the Kansas City Metro in 2024. The first and greatest expense is housing. The median price point for a house in Kansas City is right over $258,000 right now, which is still lower than a lot of areas, but that has gone up year after year, and it doesn't seem to be changing this year. There are a lot of people that are locked into a really low interest rate, and they are not selling their home anytime soon here in Kansas City and across America. Now, we do own a home that's right in that median price point here in Kansas City. We bought our home for $250,000 in 2022. At that time, we got a 4.5% interest rate, and right now we pay right about $1,700 a month for our monthly payment. However, if you're looking to buy a home in 2024, that's likely going to be higher because interest rates, unfortunately, have climbed up from the time that we bought our home in 2022. Now, with the joy of owning a home here in Kansas City, it does come with some inconveniences like home repairs. One of the things that we had to do this past year was switch out our dishwasher, which cost $400. Now, you're going to have repairs vary depending on the type of home that you get and depending on the condition of the home that you get. But I did have a client who had to pay over $3,000 this last year because their pipes froze during our super cold streak in the winter. So you're going to want to factor in some extra money for home repairs if you do decide to own your home. The median rent in Kansas City is right about $1,400 a month, depending on where in the metro you decide to move. Now, on top of that, you also have utilities. So let's get to some of my personal utility bills. We average about $162 per month to pay for our electric bills in our home. Now, you have to keep in mind, our home is a historic 100-year-old home. It's not necessarily the best at insulation and all of those types of things, so we pay probably a little bit more than the average because our home is just a little bit older. Another thing that you have to keep in mind is that we live in a 2,000 square foot home that has 2 stories. If you live in a ranch style home, that's typically going to cost a little bit less as well. Now, the highs come during the summer and the lows typically come in the spring or in the fall when the weather is really mild and you don't have to kick on your AC because that uses the most electricity in the house and costs the most too. Now, for our water bill, we paid right about $95 a month for water, and that didn't necessarily fluctuate as much as electricity. The highest that we paid for water was in the spring months when my wife was watering the plants a lot, and that was only about $110. The lowest water bill we had was right about $82 when there was really nothing being planted in the fall, no extra water being used, and it will vary for you depending on where in the metro you decide to move. But included in our water bill is the trash pickup and also what they call a sewer fee as well. Kansas City, Missouri is known for not having the best water infrastructure and sewer system, so our bills are probably higher because of that. Depending on where you decide to move in the metro, your experience may vary. Now, our gas bill probably fluctuates the most. We ended up paying over $300 a month for gas, especially when it was super cold here in Kansas City. We have a gas fireplace, we have a gas stove, we also have a gas heater system for the home, and so everything in our house runs on gas, and when it gets really cold, we crank up all of those things to stay comfortable and to stay warm, and it reflects in our bill. We paid over $342 during the coldest month. However, that's not always the case, because when we're only using gas for cooking, our bill drops all the way down to $25. So you can see that's a huge range and a huge fluctuation depending on the temperature outside. If you're looking to move to Kansas City and you find these videos helpful, reach out and give us a call. We would love to talk to you a lot more in detail about what it takes to move here to Kansas City. 816-4MOVE-KC. Call or text us anytime, and we promise we will get back with you promptly and to set up a consultation with you to move you here to Kansas City. 816-4MOVE-KC is our number. Let's talk about transportation. Now, gas is only about $2.50 a gallon here, and that of course fluctuates during the winter and during the summer months, but let me tell you a quick story. Last week on Tuesday, I was driving to one of my first appointments in a crazy busy Tuesday, and on the 71 freeway, I hear the dreaded sound of a tire going flat. And so I pull off on this really kind of shady part of Kansas City, and I have a flat tire. It is completely shredded. Luckily, I did have a friend who was in the vicinity who came out to help. He helped me change my tire. He got me to the Costco Tire Center so I could get new tires put on, and then he dropped me off at home. I used the other car to go about my day, and everything was fine. But that's one of the things that you may not think about in moving here to Kansas City is our roads are notorious for potholes, and potholes are super hard on your tires. If you decide to move here in Kansas City, budget just a little bit extra because you're going to be changing out your tires a lot more than you expect. We put on new tires on our van, and that costs about $400 for all 4 tires. I thought we got a great deal. I think it was a little bit more than $400, but I thought it was a great deal. For my car, however, I dropped it off at Costco, and I was surprised when they said it would be $375 just to replace the front 2 tires. I was kind of in shock. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to know a good tire shop, and you're going to want to consistently replace your tires, because the alternative to that is your car not functioning properly, you not getting where you want to go, and it could actually be very dangerous in the winters, especially when the roads are slicked over. So budget a little bit extra just for car repairs beyond the typical oil change. Another thing that you should budget for, especially if you decide to live in Leavenworth County, is the KTA. Now, what the KTA is it's the Kansas Turnpike, and you pay a fee to drive on the Kansas Turnpike. You can either get these labels that you can stick on your car that I just got, and they'll charge you every time you go, and you can pay it online, or you can pull off the toll road and you can stop, and then they'll charge you there. These tags are free. It saves you a little bit of money, about $250 to $450 depending on how far on the Kansas Turnpike you're going. Now, one of the pluses about the Kansas Turnpike is that it is always super well maintained, and there's rarely any traffic, and so it really does get you going where you want to go in a pretty good amount of time. But you do have to pay for it, so just budget that little bit extra in your transportation budget to factor that in if you decide to move out into Leavenworth County. Now, for internet, we had a pretty sweet deal with Spectrum Internet, and we only paid about $35 per month for Spectrum. However, the service actually was not that great. Depending on where in the metro you live, you may want to consider Google Fiber if that's available in the area. When we lived in Gladstone, Spectrum was fine. When we moved down south in Midtown Kansas City, for some reason, Spectrum has been horrible. It's always been disconnecting. They always give you these notifications that your internet's going to be out for quite some time, and it is annoying. And so once that kind of $30 to $5 a month deal ran out, we switched full-time to Google Fiber, $70 a month, no problems. It's typically really good. There has been one outage, but that's nothing compared to the weekly outage that Spectrum would have. I would highly recommend Google Fiber if you can get it, depending on where you are. So let's talk about taxes and insurance. Typically, the property taxes are rolled into our monthly payment when we pay our mortgage. However, if we were to just pay our property taxes outright, we would pay about $2,000 a month on our property every year for property taxes. That's going to be pretty standard. I would factor in around 1% to 1.5% of your property's value every year for property taxes. Now, one thing that you're going to want to know about property taxes is if you live in Jackson County, which is the county that I live in right now. If you live in Jackson County, right now they have reassessed all the property values, and unfortunately, property taxes have jumped up. I've had some clients call me that their property taxes went up 100%. 200%, something crazy, because of the way Jackson County has reassessed their property taxes. So that's one thing that you're going to want to know, especially if you currently live in Jackson County or if you're moving to Jackson County, is that when they reassess these property taxes, they can jump up. So give some room in your budget for that margin. Another thing that you're going to want to know is that if you live in Kansas City, Missouri proper, there is a 1% e-tax, meaning that they tax you 1% of your commissions or of your income every year that goes straight to the city, that is supposed to be to repair potholes, to support the city budget. I'm happy to pay it because I want our city to thrive and grow as it has been doing, but that's another thing that you're going to want to factor in. If you live in Kansas City, Missouri proper, you are subject to that 1% e-tax. With insurance, this is another thing that you're going to want to know if you're deciding to move here to Kansas City. Our home insurance has jumped up quite a bit year over year. When we first moved into this house in 2022, our home insurance was only $1,600 a month. Now for 2024, we are paying $2,200 a month. So it has jumped up quite a significant increase, and all of my clients are calling me saying, hey, my property insurance has gone up. What can I do? What can I do? And what I continue to tell them is to call around, call different brokers, call different providers. Don't just settle with State Farm because you've always been with State Farm. Don't just settle with Geico because you've always been with Geico. Every year you should be getting new quotes for your property insurance because that will save you hundreds of dollars during the year, and you don't want to miss out on those savings. It can really be a drain if your insurance goes up double what it was the year before and you just have to accept it. That's not something you have to do. Go shop around, find different coverages and different providers for you. One thing that hasn't jumped up as much is our car insurance. It stayed pretty level year over year. We pay $14.95 to insure 2 cars, one 2006 Kia Sedona. It's a really old car. It's got 180,000 miles on it. It's our family van. It's not necessarily nice, so we don't have like the full replacement coverage on that car. However, on my 2013 Lexus CT200H, I do have full replacement coverage on that car. So that gives you an idea of the age of our cars and how much it costs to insure them. I know we don't have the nicest cars, but they get the job done. They get me around the city. They get our kids around the city. We love going out and about. And so definitely, car insurance is obviously required. With eating, we try to keep our grocery budget as low as possible. And so we only spend about $100 to $150 a week on groceries for the 4 of us. Now, there's going to be an extra Wong boy coming to join us in 2024. So our grocery budget by the end of the year will be going up from that. But $150 a week on groceries seems to get the job done for us. So we do have some friends that have special dietary restrictions and they have special needs for their diet. They have to shop in certain places and for certain products. And so for them, their grocery budget is a lot higher than ours just because they have to buy that specialized food. So you're going to want to know your own dietary restrictions and everything that you need, especially when you move here, which is why our advice is always to come and visit, come and see Kansas City and the places that you're going to shop and see if those shops can provide you with the things that you need, because you don't want to be coming in here blind. Now, in terms of fast food, I'm not necessarily going to get into that as much because everybody has different preferences. However, we allot about $125 to $150 a month to eat out, whether that's to go eat the delicious Kansas City barbecue or whether that's just to go and try something new that we haven't tried before. About $150 a month is what our family spends. Of course, if you like to eat out, that could be a lot more than that. So that's our family budget, our cost of living here in Kansas City. Now, you stuck around to the end. 3 tips that I'm going to give you that can save you money if you move here to the Kansas City Metro. Number 1, shop at Aldi. It is the cheapest grocery store that you can find here in Kansas City. We used to shop at Hy-Vee. We used to shop at Price Chopper. We used to shop at Trader Joe's. There's only 2 Trader Joe's in the Metro, by the way, but shop at Aldi. That is the cheapest stuff you're going to find. Now, the negatives to Aldi are that you're not always going to find the things that you want. The other day, I went to Aldi for some tater tots. They didn't have them. They had them the week before. They don't have them this week. I don't know. That's Aldi for you, but it's cheaper to shop at Aldi. Number 2 is that you'll notice I didn't include any category for entertainment, and that's purposeful because I don't necessarily know what you enjoy. I enjoy playing golf. My wife and I like going out to movies, but whatever you enjoy, obviously you're going to have to factor that into your own budget. But one thing that you can do to save yourself a lot of money in terms of entertainment options is get certain passes. If you have a young family, you need a Science City pass. For us, it costs about $120 for the whole year, and we get unlimited visits to Science City during that calendar year. It is a phenomenal value for one of the best family attractions here in Kansas City. Other awesome passes are the Kansas City Zoo Pass. We pay about $80 a year for that. That's an awesome pass to have, especially since they just opened the new aquarium, so there's extra things to do there as well. Also, if you didn't know, Nelson Atkins Museum is completely and entirely free. You can explore that place, and it's going to take you hours and hours and hours to get everything out of that place because it is a world-class art collection that is entirely free. So you're going to want to take advantage of those things in order to have fun around Kansas City on a budget. And the last thing is something I've never heard anybody talk about before, and that is if you live in a 2-story house in Kansas City, the most efficient way to cool the rooms upstairs, and this is according to an HVAC professional that I work with as a realtor, the most important thing to do is to have window units in every single bedroom that you want to keep cool overnight, because it is so much more efficient than running your central AC system to try to cool the entirety of the house. I heard this from an HVAC technician, like I said, and he said, look, these systems are only designed to cool 1 floor at a time, and for these 2-story homes, you actually need 2 HVAC systems to keep them cool. That's how they're designed. And so if you have a second story, then put in air conditioning units in every window, and that will keep your house a lot cooler for a lot cheaper.